What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Seven Figure Photographer Live. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today is Martin Luther King Day. Normally, it always falls on my birthday. Like, maybe it's just when my birthdays are on Mondays. Well, every 7 years. No, like, anyway. Yeah, well, I'm crazy. What do I know? So today, I'm excited to talk about this. Hopefully Alexa doesn't start talking. Shoot, I said her name. Today, I want to talk about something that was kind of inspired by an experience last week. And I know you guys are probably all wondering, well, for those of you who think you have a lot of S.A.S, S.A.S actually stands for Software as a Service. So Mia told me I needed to confirm or explain that right off the bat. But that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of the programs that you're paying for, and I'm probably a great one to talk about this because it's a good eye opener. But that's what we're going to talk about here soon. So let's first do a quick little, if I can find it. I can't remember how to do it. Now we're doing it. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative, business is my passion, and elevating the industry of photography is my focus. I created the Seven Figure Photographer to share my journey to seven figures and help others find their way too.
That's amazing.
Pretty bad when I can't even remember how to run my own equipment. I have done a live, I just didn't do one last week. So, not that any of you guys care, but I have it set up to where I can do all of my live and it's already recorded on YouTube immediately. Sometimes that comes with some challenges. It's part of the software that I pay for that I don't necessarily know how to utilize. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Last week, I had the opportunity to talk to a good friend, another photographer. Hopefully I'm not going to say any names, but I might accidentally slip and say a name. Or if you're watching this, you might know who you are. Speaking of that, make sure for those of you guys who are hanging out with us and watching to comment so that we know that you're here. Say hi, tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that stuff. But today we're going to talk about software as a service, and are you getting the most from that software? One of the first things I guess the reason that I was inspired by this is because last week I was working with a fellow photographer, and the photographer asked me a question about, hey, how do you do this? And I was like, well, that's really easy. And of course, I oftentimes say these things are easy, but then I get in trouble for saying they're easy. And so I sent a message back saying, well, you just do this and this. And I realized, I make it sound easy, but then, I send it back and I'm like, is that person really going to do anything with what I just said? Because obviously, a lot of times people are just wanting me to do it for them, which doesn't really help a lot of situations. I want you to learn and get better, but at the same time, sometimes it's just easier to do it for them or to show them the capabilities of what they have. So ultimately, this person was using Sprout Studio and had basically just hadn't taken the time to set it up. I've never used Sprout before. I went in and logged into their account the other day and started looking at it. And as I was looking at it, I believe that what we were trying to accomplish, if I can remember correctly, was just basically to get the leads. Actually, I think I kind of got stuck on it. But to get the leads from when they go into, somebody goes to your website and the leads come in, to send them over to the studio, the CRM, basically. And so as I jumped in and started playing around with it, I was like, well, we can do this, we can do this, we can hook it to Zapier and do an automation. Annie knows about this. We did this a lot with her stuff, and she adopted it quick. She was took it on really quick, and she now does her own automations with Zapier and with Pixify. And basically what I did was I went in there and I looked and I was like, okay, well, in order for us to be able to do this, you have to have this, and you have to have Zapier. And then in order to do, and I think we were trying to do an integration something to do with Calendly. That's what it was. We were trying to make sure that Calendly, when you book on Calendly, it would bring them up as a lead in the CRM. So as I jumped in, I'm doing things, I'm making things work, I'm playing around in Zapier on their account, and as I'm doing it, I said, oh, well, it looks like you have to have the higher version of Calendly to be able to do this. And so they were like, oh, no problem, I'll go in and raise it, which was only $4 difference. No big deal. And then I was like, well, I wonder, like, what are all the capabilities of Sprout Studio, right? So I dive into Sprout Studio on their account. As I'm looking, I realize, okay, well, Sprout Studio has the online booking software, so there goes Calendly. It has the automatic lead generation option. So really, a lot of the extras that they were paying for are already covered in their software. So that's kind of the point of what I want to talk about. And my focus or my hope is that you guys will take a look at the softwares or the S.A.S. softwares as a service. Or even just the things that you're subscribed to on your phone, and really kind of dive into them and determine, okay, am I using this to its full capability, or am I just paying a gym membership and never using it? That's me. I'm the problem. That's me. But ultimately, this can really, really add up quickly. I would know, because this time of year I'm doing taxes. I'm going through and I'm finding out, holy crap, Sam, you're paying this much a year for this stuff. So I'm going to go through a quick list, and I'm going to share some of the expenses like that I have on my business for softwares as a service kind of thing. So first one, Google G Suite. Now, this one is one that I think is really vital, because ultimately it gives you the capability to take your Google Gmail account and give it a true @samuelmarvin.com web or email address, which I think is a really professional thing that if you watch one of my old YouTube videos, I say it's like one of the things that you have to have. And so, yeah. Oh, by the way, Mia is here today. So if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to send them in. Mia is answering them. Say hi, Mia. I didn't have her mic on. Unfortunately, I left one of the cameras in my wife's car today, so Mia is not joining us on camera, which is, I'm sure she's so sad about. So, okay, so back to this. Google G Suite, I pay $72 a month for. I have multiple. It's not normally always that expensive. In fact, I think for our escape room, let me look, we pay $24 for Google G Suite. So the only what are you laughing about? The only reason I have that I pay $72 is because we have multiple email addresses on there. So we have mine, Michelle's, Mia's. I think we have some others, which now thinking about it, I should probably go in and check those. Like, doing this audit is a good thing to look and see, like, where are you spending money that like you really don't need to be spending. Adobe stock, $31.79 a month. Now, there's another good example. Like, I pay $31.79 a month. I use 4 pictures a month. So, oh, do you use a few? So it's one of those, like, it's easy. I know the system. I pay for it because I do regularly use it, especially for like making the thumbnails for these videos and stuff like that. And it really does make my life a little bit easier as far as that goes. Pro Select, you can either do that, like you can pay for it once every couple of years, or you can pay it monthly. I think monthly it's like $50 a month. Zapier, I pay $30 a month. Sorry. Adobe Creative Cloud, obviously that's one of those, like, that's Lightroom, Photoshop. I think, in fact, I could even dial that one back because I'm not really using InDesign anymore. You don't use InDesign on that account, do you? Yeah, so anyway, like, that's one of those things that, like, I can evaluate. Do we use that program to, like, more than 50% of its value? I think Photoshop, pretty much, yeah. Like, we can't live without Photoshop as photographers, so that's kind of a no-brainer. Lightroom, that's obviously one that we use a lot. So, and then moving on, Captivate FM, there's another one, $20 a month, and that's really just for which I'm currently not doing a whole lot with, but that's more of a 7FP expense. But that's basically just the platform that hosts my turns. Well, I have to pay somebody to turn it into a podcast so that that's available on the website. So again, one of those expenses that you have to really evaluate. Is it worth it? Do I need to do it? Dropbox, I pay $75 a month for. I really should just pay that by the year, $750 a year. Dropbox is like a vital one for us. We use the crap out of it. We have a ton of stuff on there. Trello at Legion, most people can get Trello for free and use it to its capability at a free value. We pay $50 a month for Trello because we have a whole bunch of automations and extras on there, and Mia is snickering about stupid stuff. Tave, $34.99 a month. Buzzy Text, $10 a month. The list goes on. I'm going to jump over, and another couple that I pay for, T-Sheets. That's for our employees to clock in, which we finally got Bart set right. Active Campaign, that's $280. Oh, T-Sheets, I pay $116 a month. Now, mind you, we use that. I actually use the service for this and for CIC, which technically falls under S&P, and then also our escape room, which is the majority of our employees are on the escape room, and so that's why it's a little bit higher a month. Active Campaign, I pay $287 a month. That's based on the number of emails I have, and I have multiple businesses on there. Now, the escape room has the most of the emails, and so that's kind of why that goes. But again, here's a perfect example of a really, really powerful program that does a lot of the things that some of my other softwares do, but it's such a powerful program, and I've only like barely scratched the surface on what it can do. So it's one of those that I constantly think about on a regular basis. Am I getting out of it what I pay into it? So, and I would venture to say that the answer to that is no. And so it's one of those things that I constantly am thinking, okay, I need to dive in and put some more time into it. I'm going to talk more about this here in a second. SiteGround, that's like my web, that hosts all my websites, stuff like that. I really can't get around any of that stuff. So those are pretty much like some of the main things. Now, as you can see, Canva is one that you can pay for. Most everything on Canva you can do for free. I said Tave Sprout Studio is like $50 a month. 17 Hats, I think, is right around $50 a month. Mojo, that's a good question. And that actually leads me to the other part of this. If you go into, for those of you who are using iPhone, for those of you who aren't, I'm sorry. I know Annie and Bart are going to give me crap about that one, so that's why I said it. But if you go into your iPhone and you just click on your name right there, hopefully I don't give away too much information there. But you click on your name up at the top, the iCloud settings, and you go into payments subscriptions. You can actually go in there and look at all the subscriptions that you have set for your personal stuff. So, for instance, we have Splice Video Editor. These are actually ones that I made inactive. You can go in there and update all of those things. For instance, Mojo, we pay $40 a year for that one. No. And then let's see here. Apple One, which is what we use for all the other stuff like Apple Music and fitness, that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of other ones in there, but that's kind of like you can go into your subscriptions and you can look at them and say, okay, do we really use them? I was just doing that the other day. I was talking to Mia about it, and I was like, okay, are we using this? And she's like, no, we stopped using that like a year ago. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to cancel that subscription before it comes due. And because oftentimes, and I'm a culprit of this really bad. I find anything that's like, oh, this program does this, and they're really good about selling those things to you. Or this app does it, and so I'm like, oh, well, $10 a month or $20 a month. What are you laughing about? Again,
You do that so often.
what?
Just like you get.
Oh yeah, I just add stuff in, and like it ends up being ridiculously expensive. So just be on top of it. Now, my ultimate goal and what I want you to do is I want you to evaluate each of these programs, look into them, and determine, okay, does this program have more capability than what I realize? am I using it even 20%, 40%, 80% of the program? Tave, classic example. We use the crap out of Tave, but we don't even use all the capabilities of it. For instance, we use it to like keep track of like our income for the studio because it's really good about that. But QuickBooks does that. And I also pay for QuickBooks $30 a month. So for each of the businesses. And so realistically that does it, but Tave just gives us like a quick overview, and it's kind of a simple thing. But that again becomes more of a reactionary business model, if you will, and not necessarily the smartest. You don't want to go by the numbers that you've had. You want to look at like forward, basically make your decisions based on what you're trying to do, not necessarily what you did. So I've struggled for many years about like, okay, well, we did, 60 seniors and, 380,000, whatever the money is. And then I'm like, okay, well, we need to do better next year. And that's kind of like, okay, but we're not setting a goal for how we're doing better next year. We're just looking at the past and kind of reacting to it. So that's what I mean by reactionary. But one thing that I've learned is that any of these programs that we have, and I fight it. I don't want to learn new programs. I don't like to learn, not that I don't like to learn new things. I actually love learning new things. I just understand that like when I adopt a new program, oftentimes it's going to take more time away from the other things that I want to do. If it's going to make my life easier, great. Then is it worth it? Can you utilize more than 10% of its capabilities? And that's a good question to ask. If you can afford the $20 and it makes your life a lot easier and it saves you a significant amount of time, then I would venture to say it's probably worth it. Those are questions you're going to have to ask for yourself. But what I would suggest is look at the programs that you have and determine like, can they do more than what you know that they can do? And if they can, you already know the program, like what's learning a little bit more of that program. For instance, Sprout Studio. I was actually really impressed. I promise Mia we're not going to switch over to Sprout Studios. Don't worry. And that becomes another issue, like bouncing around from software to software. A good friend of mine, who I will not say her name, she's been through about every single freaking CRM. Like I've been through a lot of CRMs and tried them all. She's been through more of them. I've gotten to learn a lot of new CRMs because of my coaching. I get to work with people like, for instance, the one I was working with the other day was the first time I'd ever actually dove into Sprout and worked with it. But I could actually pretty confidently navigate through like Pixify, 17 Hats, Tave. I can say Sprout now because I honestly learned a good bit of it the other day. I recognize like its capabilities. Now, sometimes you don't understand the capabilities that you need until you're like, okay, I need to solve a problem. And that's really how this all started last week was the photographer that I was talking to had a problem. And I was like, well, that's an easy fix. But at the same time, that photographer said, I'm not really good about fixing or coming up with a solution to those particular problems. And that is something that I actually do well in. It's sunny outside and I feel like I should be out fishing. Anyway, yeah, focus. So that's kind of, I guess, the means for like the whole purpose of what I have today. I've been thinking about it. I want you guys to just dive into your softwares and look at them and determine, am I utilizing the capabilities? Or if I'm already paying for them, is there something that I can maximize with those capabilities? Some of the ones that like it just blows my mind how much people miss in the programs that they have. But the other thing that I want you to know is so many of you avoid it because it's like daunting and scary. But if you would just take an hour each day and sit down and just play with it, like figure out like what can this program do for me. Trello is one of those that I pretty much push on every photographer I work with. I do my coaching stuff through it. I keep track of that with it. Sometimes I avoid Trello, but realistically, like that's one of those things that I try to make like one of my everyday morning routine priorities is sitting down, looking through all my Trellos, looking through the notifications on Trello, and going through and taking care of stuff. Honestly, like if I were to say any program in the world is the most vital to me, if I could only have one program or one software, it would I would probably go with Trello over
I love that.
like
It's nice
the
for everything.
power and capability. Like I don't think that we even scratched the surface with it, but it's incredible. I even logged all my fishing equipment this weekend into a Trello board, and I was showing Mia this morning. I was all proud of it. Um, but Trello is incredible. You can use it for a CRM. You can actually use it for workflow processing, all that stuff. And I know that's not like really what we're here to talk about today, but I know that the capabilities of Trello are even bigger um, than that. So I don't even remember where I was really going with that, but Trello is like if I had to choose one program, it would probably be Trello. And because I think that you can honestly, well, I guess if we're only getting one program, we can't automate it through Zapier and all the other stuff, but ultimately we can. I was just saying, yeah.
You were talking about how they can spend like an hour a day just kind of
Oh yeah.
exploring
Oh,
things.
so yeah. So that was So I did a thing recently, and I'm going to use this as an example. I decided I wanted to manufacture a product with, well, for fishing, and I started into it like I was just like, it'd be really cool if I could do this. Well, I knew that like my best option was to get a 3D printer and get started on it. 3D printers are like a dime a dozen now. They used to be really expensive, but now they're super cheap and easy to get. So I ordered a 3D printer and it sat in my house for like forever. And I was like, I don't want to learn a new pro because as I started to dive into it, I was like, okay, I got to pay for this software to the 3D design software. And then I got to pay for this software to do the slicing, which basically determines how many layers it's going to lay down to print it. And I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to learn another, because then I'm going down a whole nother rabbit hole that like, then Sam's like off in La La Land, not getting stuff done. So one of our clients actually we were installing for one of our clients and somehow the 3D printing came up and she was like, oh, my brother or cousin or I can't remember what it was is really good at those things and loves like inventing or like trying to put things together. So I reached out to him and he was like, yeah, like send me what you want. So as Mia could imagine, I drew up a sketch of of what I wanted, and it was I think it was a pretty good sketch.
Oh my gosh, please tell me you have it.
Oh, I have it. I'm going to show you.
Oh my
Ready?
goodness, yes.
Um, well, I had it real close. Okay, which I think actually I can't show this online because this is a secret. I'm still working on it.
Whatever.
No,
Let's
it's
see it.
okay. So there's my sketch. It's not bad.
Wow, no, I'm actually impressed.
But I sent it to him and it was like completely like he missed the boat. I was like, I wanted,
Spoke with that. It's a good thing you did that good.
yeah. So I was like, well, I was thinking something different. And so back and forth, we finally like landed on something that I wasn't necessarily like in love with for this product that I had envisioned in my mind about how sleek and sexy it would be if you can get sexy with fishing stuff. Um, and so ultimately he was like, okay, well, I think we're at the point where you need to print it. And I was like, well, so there's a thing I don't know how to print. So that was like a whole nother thing that I had to learn. But he sent me the file and I opened the file up and he's like, it's on a free program called Tinkercad and it's online. And so he sent me the file and I opened it up and I started playing in it. And within an hour, I had already like ruined a lot of stuff. But I actually learned the majority of the program within an hour. Then I was like excited about it and I was like, okay, I want to see what other things I can do in here. So I started like designing, like I made the little envelope system for Michelle and her desk, and like I've been designing some other things. Now I've taken the product that he gave me or that he designed for me and I've completely customized it. I've cut things out, I've made new things, I've made new clips for it. And my point in telling you this is that there's a lot of programs out there that can really mess with like it can be a huge roadblock for people. But I think it's a roadblock because people don't even try. Like they don't even jump and they don't even start with it. And so if you would just take a moment to start with it and commit like 15 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour a day with these programs and learn the capabilities of them, then you might actually be able to maximize your efficiency and productivity and actually eliminate some of the time that you spend working on a lot of these things. One of my biggest problems is like I just forget stuff. Like somebody will tell me, or I don't listen. I find out. Like Michelle will be like, "Yeah, I told you that the other day," and I was like, "Yeah, I heard it, but I wasn't really listening to you." So, like, but if you put it into Trello, then it's there, and I know like I can go back and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Like that was something that I needed to do." I try to do better about like when clients reach out to me and stuff like that to put it in there or at least into the notes in Tave and stuff so that I can remember to follow up on those things. Follow up is a huge thing. I use Tave for the follow up. I use Trello for follow up. So those are great items. And actually, surprisingly, not that I don't want to get off into the topic, but the follow up aspect is like it's huge. I saw the other day in a scenario with some photographers and some clients just about like the power of follow up and how the follow up really gave one photographer the hand up over the other. And so those are things that you just have to keep in mind. And if you can find programs that will help you do that or utilize the programs that you have or the softwares that you have, then ultimately you can make your money a little bit like more better spent. More better. Yeah. And that is a huge thing because like if I can eliminate now without question there's points where I'm like, okay, this program just does it better. And I'll be the first to tell you like there are certain programs out there that are trying to do everything. For instance, Tave or Pixify or 17 Hats, they're trying to do everything like the bookkeeping, the all these things. Now, when you get into the bookkeeping, great. 17 Hats does a good job. But ultimately, when you get to a bookkeeper or a tax accountant, they're going to be like, we need it in QuickBooks. And so ultimately, you might have to learn that program. And honestly, it's powerful and it's resourceful. It's way better than it used to be. You still hate it. But those are things that you just have to make that decision. But in the beginning stages for photographers, or even in some of the more advanced stages for photographers, really all you need is just to have something somewhere that you can look at those things. You can identify, okay, this is where my money's going, or this is where this is happening. So I need to make sure to pay more attention to this particular aspect of my business. So utilize the programs you have, really maximize the capability or their potential. Use them to their fullest extent because you're already spending the money and maybe it has a capability that you can get rid of. Maybe you are hemorrhaging money and you just need to figure out a way to adjust that. I found out the other day that Google has a free booking software. Yeah, that's like all built in. I've not gone in and looked at it, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But from what I understand, like they have a lot of those resources. Just like we were using Planoly and different stuff. Do you even use any of those anymore? Okay. Okay, so there's another good example. Like Facebook, though it is challenging, it's a little bit challenging. But again, if you take a little bit of time and you go in there, you can actually schedule all your posts out for Facebook and for Instagram through there, and also work with like your advertising through there and Reels. So a lot of that stuff is there, and a lot of the programs are free. Like Trello is a huge resource that I don't think people like take nearly the advantage of it. It's the hardest thing for me is just getting people to use it and continue to use it, like employees and stuff like that. But I think we've actually gotten pretty good. We just got to get Dylan on board with. So other than that, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I just want you to think about the programs you have. What do you have that you're already paying for? What could you get rid of? Are you utilizing them at the top of their potential? Could you use them for more? or could one of the other programs you have do a lot of that stuff for you? So, what are some of the questions that we have? Or you've already answered them all? Trello gives me a headache. Oh, really? Beatleap is the other paid app I use often for video creation. Okay, so there's a good question, like, or there's a good point. Like, why would you use? Why wouldn't you use CapCut, which is free and actually has incredible, like, honestly, CapCut. Oh, did he? He says other paid app I use often for video creation. So CapCut has like, and literally on an iPad or an iPhone, you have the power that is incredible. Like even like speed ramping, all that stuff is capable on there that you can really only do in some of the higher end editing programs. But because video is such a big thing right now, that resource has been maximized and just in the palm of your hand. You can literally, I've always thought it was fun, and I tried to do this years ago, and I was successful at it. But on the plane ride home from Cabo, I wanted to take video footage that we had already backed up and create a video reel for our Cabo experience because I wanted to have it done. I'm not a video editor, and I did it through an app on the iPad that I paid like $25 for the year. Now CapCut is like amazingly capable and more capable than most anything I've ever seen, and it's free, and you can do it on an iPad, which I think is awesome because I've not found anything that's taxed my iPad so much that it doesn't work. So, Michelle says, thanks, Michelle. So let's see. What else did James Wood? We won't tell anyone. What picture? Oh. Oh, that's cool. That's a good. How much do you pay for it though, Tim? I mean that could be worth it. So, but and obviously those are the things. Like those are the things you have to decide. Like, is it worth it to pay $15 or $30 to save yourself that time? 15 a year, yeah. So that's definitely a one that I would think would be worth it, because ultimately video editing can become like crazy time consuming. So yeah, all the programs have, and that's one of the coolest things. Like that's why I've actually done videos about like the 7 or 5 apps that I wouldn't want to be in business without. um, these are great resources, and one of my favorite things about networking with other photographers are things like this, being able to see and find out, okay, what's out there. I'd never even heard of Beatleap. Like, so some of those things, it's really interesting to find out that they're there, they're available. And sometimes we just wouldn't have ever even known that they were there until we talked to another photographer or find out. I think there should be like maybe that's what we should do is like have like an app section, like my favorite programs. So people can see what you have and what you like to use. And of course, some photographers are like, I'm not sharing any of my information with people, but which I think is crazy. But that's all I got for you guys today. Anything you want to add? Oh, yeah, but I keep forgetting to bring it in. I'll bring it in next week. I'll bring it in next week, and we'll use it for next month. So, okay, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Happy Martin Luther King Day, and that's it. This love would have been better if we could have seen. Oh, this live would have been better.
Oh, okay, there you go. I'm like, maybe it's like this.
I was like, this live would have been better if we could have seen Mia's face. I'm sorry. I forgot the camera at home. That's the second time this year that I've forgotten a camera for important. Yes, I went on a shoot this year and drove like 30 minutes from the studio. Yeah, it was terrible. And we got to our first location, and by that point, like, we're so stressed on time, and I had forgotten my camera. When I get like, yeah, and it was cold. When I get like super just overwhelmed with things moving too fast, sometimes like, but that's actually first. Yeah, well, I got ready to take it out, and then I set it on the thing there because what happened was Bart asked me a question, and so not that it's Bart's fault, it was my fault. But Bart asked me a question right as I was getting ready to pick it up and take it out. So I ran back to the production room, and then came out and was like, "Okay, let's go," because in my head I had already taken it out and put it in the car, and I made it work because I already had another camera in the car that was used for our video. So Dylan and I just kind of did a tradesy thing until Michelle brought me my camera, and it worked out. And the sale was actually great. It was a killer sale. So I didn't fail. I thought for sure they were going to be like, "What a freaking tool like this."
They already had photos taken with somebody else. They were like, remember?
Oh yeah, she did do.
That's why I was so scared. I'm like, oh my god.
Wait a second. Are you sure that's this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't remember. Anyway, it worked out great for us.
Yeah.
And everything. And I think that's like a huge thing. Like people have a tendency to make things too much and like kind of melt down and let everything go. But if you're a problem solver, like, and you can keep your cool, I think sometimes it changes things. Like, I don't know. That's a whole nother topic. Alexa's listening to us. You creepy hoochie. Okay, that's... I just called her a hoochie. That's not a big deal. All right, guys. That's all we got for you today. Yeah, I know. Peace out, Girl Scouts. I can't remember what I'm doing here. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative,